everybody, welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob, and today we're just going to kind of give you a little hint of what we're doing to the Arcticat. I've got somewhat of a plan. I don't know how good a plan it's going to be, but we've got a plan. You get it straightened up here. I had it straight there all ago. But anyway, we've got a shit ton of work to do to this thing, and a long time to do it. So we got plenty of time to do it. Hope you guys are having your Trump coffee today. I know I've been slacking on reminding you guys. Shouldn't have to remind you. But what I did, I took a hood off of a Chevrolet pickup. It was probably a Silverado or something like that. And I found it in the junkyard of a buddy of mine. And I just said, well, you know what? Instead of me building a hood, why don't I just take this one and cut a hood out of the hood? If I would have thought this through a little bit better, I wouldn't have weld spots in the top of my hood. So I'm going to have to do some bondoing. But I'll show you what we got here. Alright, so what we did, we just cut the back half off of it. And I measured it about, if I can find my tape measure, I've done lost that thing 3 times today. It's 28 inches from here to the point on the hood. So I just cut 28 inches off of it, and it just so happened that this is square. All that, it's square to the grill. So it made it easy to make a straight line across the back side of it and cut it. And I left, well, I didn't leave it in there. This is why I have weld marks in the top of it, so go easy on me, guys. I didn't anticipate having to have a flat spot to put my hinge. So I thought, well, shit, I shouldn't have took all that frame out of it. You know, the bottom part. I'll turn it upside down here and let you see what I'm talking about. This used to be right here, all this big old X pattern. So I cut this part out of it. Well, I thought I'd be able to spot weld that without burning through it. Wrong. So it is what it is. But I needed a flat surface here so I can mount the hinge. I'm going to have 2 bolts in this on each side, 2 or 3. Probably pop rivets, I don't know yet. Might do bolts. And then I've got this flat surface right here to put the other side of the hinge on it. So I got you all in the right direction. I got this flat spot right here. So I do have to trim a little bit of this off. Just that much of it. Which is not a big deal. And then that way, that center will lay flat. And by the time I get done with it, the edge of this corner here will be right at the edge of the hood. Same thing on this side. And then that makes it where it's supposed to be. This one has to come out a little bit further. But we're gonna go with flat black. So whatever I do, it's gonna work. So then I decided to not use the original headlights. And wouldn't you know, I'd have it buried underneath here. I decided to go with these. And we're going to try to make it so that whatever we put here, I can mount those just like that right there on both sides. So we may have one set here and one set here, so that it kind of makes a roll motion around it. So we can do it like that right there, and it'll stay to the contour of the hood. So they'll be the right height, but they'll be staggered. This one will be further in than this one. And the same thing on that, but the opposite. Because I'm not going to fight trying to cut that hole out and bend that aluminum to the same contour as what used to be there to be able to use that. And there's going to be a whole lot of finagling to try to get it to work. Little tiny brackets made. I'm not going through all that. It's a side by side. It's going to be used for work, and that's the end of it. So I'm hoping that whatever I use here will kind of taper around and come back here and bend over into the frame, this part right here. So that'll be the last thing. I got to get the hood right first. Once I get the hood, then I can work around the hood and see where I want to put stuff. So it's possible that we can put a piece right here that will come over so far. We want to try to come over, and here I've got you all out of scene. I want to try to come over to about, well, the inside of this tube with this before I start bending it around. But I got to bend it at an angle because it's got to come uphill, because this is tapered or sloped. So I got to bend it to a slope. And hopefully we can get it to come back here and mount to the frame itself. And then we can make our little brackets. Well, we actually don't even have to make brackets for these lights, because these lights have these funky brackets on them that can be adjusted. So I can move that up there like that, or I can turn it around and have it to where the stud's coming in the back, and we can just put the stud right into the back of the, let's see if I can get it turned around there and try to get some kind of an idea. We could do something like that and have that stud coming out the back. I don't really like them brackets, to be honest with you. So we can do it like that. Well, this may have to stick out past this. I don't know, I might put them right here on the roll bar, the brush guard. I don't know yet. We haven't decided. I could put them down here, but then that would leave this here looking bare and nothing there. And I want to try to use the lights as a way to break it up so it doesn't look so blah, out there. Like sticking yourself out in public nude. Or nude. But once we get this where we're going to taper or turn this around, after we get the fenders done, then we can cut this to the same shape, because I can just come underneath here and just draw a line following the fender, and then whatever I come to with my line, I'll add 2 more inches to it so that we have something to fold over. My goal is to get about a 1/2 inch overhang, but I want to do 2 inches to allow myself enough that if I mess up I can fix it. So I'll just work my way into it, sneak up on it, in other words, and then that way I can bend it over to where it's like that. So this here will have that beading around it, and it'll come down against this fender. We hope. We've got a plan, a somewhat of a plan. It's not a great plan, but I think no matter what I do here, this is going to look nice. I had to move the fender down 2 inches. I had to bring it down to the top of that, and I still got to cut some of that top off. And once we're ready to put the windshield on, here's my other plan. I need to square this hole up, at least bottom and the top. So I've cut a flat bar that is the same taper as the frame. Did the same thing on this side. It's got a taper cut or angle cut, and we're going to stick this in here, something like that right there, and then we're going to make a bracket to put it right here to mount it to the dash to keep it from flopping in and out. This bottom part, I'm going to cut some aluminum to fit that area up to the center, and then do the same thing on the other side. Then I'll have something to screw my windshield to, a straight square area. I don't have to cut the contour of the dash, and I'm going to do the same thing up at the top because I want to put a barrier to hide the speakers. So it'll come down to where this stops being flat and starts doing that turn. So it'll probably be right around here. So then the plastic will start there and come down to here. I'm trying to get away from having to use a 2-piece because I've got this piece right here. I really don't want to marry the two together because they're just not going to work for me. I just don't see it working for me, but I could be wrong. But this piece, I haven't decided how I want to put this up yet. As you can see, I already drawn some marks on it, thinking that I was going to put it up there this way. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. So it'd be something like that right there. I'm probably going to have to use at least part of that other piece. The thing that I'm worried about is that where it comes together is going to land in my line of sight while I'm driving it. So that's the part I'm worried about. So we'll probably use this piece here on the bottom. We'll probably cut this off right here, square, and put that there. And then put the other piece on there with the folded part. With the folded part underneath this side. So my buddy Dale's gonna come over and help me when I get everything. I've got another windshield coming for the rear. It's only 44 inches, but it was $51. I said, shit, why not? This one was 170, 160, somewhere around there. By the time I got it to my door, I wasn't doing that twice. Can't do it twice. So then we have these brackets here that we're making, we've got 4 of them. These here are going to be attached to this frame. Just like that right there. And then I'm going to have to shave some of that off there because this is an angle right here. So I don't know, it might not even make a difference. I'd like for that to be angled like that, but what I'll probably do is just cut a little bit of this off, about half of it, and just put a small hole there for a bolt. Because I want these to bolt in. So that will go and bolt in. The top one will bolt in. Then we'll have the rail that we can use as a screw plate. And like I said, I can 3D print a bracket to put in the center. I mean, it could be a long bracket, about 5 inches long, to that taper, and mount it right there on that flat spot, because that's where it lands, I believe. Yeah. Well, I can't get back in now. Yeah, it lands right on that flat spot right there. So I can put a bracket there just to keep it from doing this, you know, flopping in and out this way. And then we'll have the sides that we can mount it. The rail on the bottom, top rail. And we'll have a place to hide, or a way to hide our speakers. And anything else I might put up there. I might put a switch panel up there, who knows. So we got that cut and ready to start milling, because I got to do some milling on it. And then this was the other light that came with the set. And these are actually pretty nice looking lights. I didn't pay a whole lot for them, so they're pretty nice for as cheap as they were. And I'm thinking about putting that bad boy right there. So we gotta have a switch plate in here. So I'm thinking about using these 4 bolt holes, or four bolts here, as a way to put up a switch box. So it's right there above my head, you know, like the truckers did it. Well, like I did it. I was a trucker. I drove tractor and trailers. Too many years of that shit. Hell, one time I went to South Dakota and picked up a dinosaur. The one that sold for $600,000. What an expensive bone. Bet my bone wouldn't be worth that much. And then got a speeding ticket on the way to Sotheby's auction in New York. Anyway, that's just an update on what's going on with this, and I think the way the hood looks, I think it's going to look pretty decent. And if I do this right here right, it'll still look decent because I'm going to put that trim on it. So if I just keep taking round that when I cut it to where I need it to be, then I can put that beading around here and it'll stay the contour all the way around. And then we're going to bend it down, so we got to make that so it'll go all the way around and look pretty decent. I don't know where, I'd like to try to keep this, and it is inside the bumper. So I'd like to try to keep this crease so it matches on both sides. The crease looks pretty nice. And hell, later on I could probably put a louver here or a set of louvers here that comes all the way back, and that will cover all this mess that I created. That's a dent. Ain't a whole lot I can do about that. But if I get a longer set of louvers or hood scoops or whatever you want to call them that matches. You got one that tapers this way and one tapers that way, and I could put that on here. That would look alright. But we'll see. I'm going to try to patch those. If I can't, we'll have to hide them. I hide my shit. Anyway, the choke is working really good. And we haven't started it, so let's start it and see if it's still working. If it don't vibrate this off, I'll probably move that. Let's see if it'll start without pulling the choke. Well, hell, it started without the choke. That didn't help me any. Anyway, I gotta redo the bottom of the drill. I gotta drill a hole, another hole down here and thread it. But this time I gotta put a bushing in it because I had to go down further, and when I went down further, I have two options. I can either take this and straighten it back out and then bend it where I need it to bend, or just put a bolt in there with a bushing in between it and the frame. And I think I'm going to go with the bushing because I like for this to go down below this, and it's got a nice opening right here. You know, it's uniform. I think it'll look pretty decent once it's all done. I'm trying to use stainless steel bolts on everything. I had to order some stainless steel bolts so I can put my windshield in, because the 6mm bolts they sent me, they were not long enough to do anything. So it's a long, drag out process. But the good thing about this, while I'm working on it, all I gotta do is stick the seats back in it, move all this stuff off of it, and I can drive it and work with it. And then all I gotta do is take my headlights exactly the way they are. This one here should be low beam. This one here should be high beam. So when we put marker lights on it, we'll hook the marker lights to the low beam, because the low beam stays on when the other light comes on. If it don't, we'll fix it. We'll make a switch for just the marker lights. I like for them to be on with the headlights, so I ain't got to fumble with it. If you put it on the high beam side, when you turn the high beams off, they'll go off, the marker lights will go out too. So you want them on one that's when you always have at least one light on. Whichever light stays on all the time is the one that you want it to be hooked to, your marker lights. Anyway, that's about it for what I've done on this so far. I made the frame in the back, and I haven't. I've done changed my mind, so I may have cut them pieces prematurely. So they'll still go. They'll still work for it, but they'll just have to be done in a different orientation. So I'm going to use these for the back glass. I'm going to put this one on the top, facing down, and it's got a channel in it up there on the top and the back. Then I got this one that will go on the bottom, and it's got a little lip here on the bottom that I can use to screw this up to the frame. So it'll go in there like that, and it's got a groove in the top of it. So it'll go in the bottom. So we're going to try to use this as a mount for the rear windshield. We're going to have at least 44 inches worth of windshield from side to side, and I think it's like 30 some, it's probably the same length as these two are together, which would be about 33 inches. So I'll have good viewing area back there in the back. So we really don't need a whole lot of viewing area because the bed's in the way. You're not going to see past the bed. You're not going to see past the part up there at the top. Of course, your head's not up there. You're not going to see nothing behind the seats, but we'll have a glass behind there anyway. Actually, we don't really need them to see who's in the driver's seat, do we? Might be getting in trouble. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed my little update on the Arctic Cat. I can't wait to show this thing off. I'm proud of it yet already, even though I ain't done with it. I did fix the tires. I will tell you that. You ain't gonna believe how I fixed them tires. And everybody's gonna tell me I'm crazy, and I probably am. This one had 3 holes in it. I thought it only had 2 in the front on the outside. Well, it had another one on the inside. So there's 3 holes in the sidewall. Whatever they hit destroyed every damn thing on the side of this. It broke the plastic, it put 3 holes in the tire, it broke all the mud flaps, broke the mud flaps on the bed, it bent the bracket that you pull to lift the bed to unlatch it. It bent it up about 3 or 4 inches, and I had to take it off and straighten it back up. And whatever they hit, man, they must have rolled this thing on its side. So anyway, I'm making a short story long, ain't I? I took and roughed it up with a wire wheel on my drill and roughed up about that much of an area around each hole. And it's got crisscrosses in it that are probably about 1 millimeter high. And then you got another set of lines that's every inch around it, all the way around it, that goes all the way around the beading or the tread and the inside. So you got 2 different size raised areas, so it's not flat like the tires used to be inside. So it used to be they looked like they were stippled on the inside, just kind of a rough texture. But anyway, I took the wire wheel, grounded around it, and I took RTV gasket maker and I just put a healthy amount on it and just feathered it out and squished it into that rough spot that I made with the wire wheel. And then on the outside, I took the part that was flipped out where it had cut it, and I just glued it back into place with some rubber cement. And they've been up for a week now, so they're holding air. I mean, we're only talking 10 pounds of air. But all of them's working, thank God, because these tires, they look too damn good for me to get rid of. I'd be ashamed to throw them away. Even though they're in bad shape as they are, they just look too damn good. Sure wish they was a little bit different, not rough, as these things tear up some sod. And my grass doesn't like it. So I'll have to remember we can't be driving this and turning in the yard. We can go straight, but we can't turn it. Anyway, this got longer than I wanted. I was just wanting to do a short one to just kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing for a hood. So if you got a Chevrolet hood out in your yard and you don't know what to do with it, and you got a side-by-side that needs a hood, right there it is. I got the other half of it to come off of the back, and I'm going to use it somewhere. Hell, I might even use it for these pieces right here. Because basically all it is a wedge. And I'm going to try to get it down in here too, so I can close off any air coming through here. Anyway, you guys have a good one. Later.